So today I want to talk about the ultimate filtration system for any freshwater tank out there, no matter how small, how large it is, what I use, and how easy it actually is to do it. I do want to talk about it on 4 different tanks that I have and show you guys the ins and outs. And I want to make this the ultimate sump video because like you guys have probably seen on my channel, I do have other sump videos pretty much just on this one, on the 300-gallon tank, but I do want to make some video that will try to answer as many questions as possible. So let's dive into the 300, the one that most of you guys have already seen, but I do want to pick it apart and show you guys the ins and outs, why I built it the way I built it, and why, in my opinion, this is the ultimate setup for freshwater, any type of fish. I have these massive full-grown peacocks and haps in my 300-gallon tank. They make an absolute mess. However, that being said, and keep in mind I fed the fish this morning, sorry for the glare, but that being said, my water is always just absolutely crystal clear. It looks like the fish are floating. And I want to talk about how I obtain that, because I'm always asked, well, how do you get your water so clear? And if I can help others, you know, polish their water as much as mine appears to be all the time. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Now, most of you guys probably know already, but this is a DIY 75-gallon tank. Or I should say this is a 75-gallon tank that is a DIY sump filtration system that I did convert. So here's what I get asked all the time. What size are these baffles? Now, that is hard for me to say to you guys because not every tank is the same. An Aquaponics tank, which this is different from, say, a all glass or Perfecto or whatever tanks, you know, you guys may have out there. The actual measurements between the glass, you know, front and back is different. So for me, this being a standard 4-foot 75-gallon tank, these baffles are cut, I believe it is 17 3/16 of an inch, you know, wide, front to back, to fit across like that. And that gives me enough space to silicone each baffle in place, okay? So I can't even tell you how many times, how many messages I receive on what are the glass measurements of your baffles. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's 17 inches, or 17 3/16 of an inch is the measurement on those, okay? So let's talk about this filtration system, what I do, how I build it, how I get the ultimate crystal clear water and really, really great water parameters. So this tank, for example, has 2 corner overflows, as you see here, 1 inlet, 1 outlet on each, or I should say 1 drain, 1 return on each corner. So both corners come to this first section, which are 2 7-inch filter socks. I use 2 different ones. Usually I'm using the 200 microns, so it's a little bit bigger mesh, and it's actually felt socks. So number 1, this pretty much catches anything and everything, but whatever does break down in the socks, it goes through this bed matting, which is really cheap, guys. I buy this stuff at Walmart. This cottony bed matting comes in a huge roll. So I just cut that, and then that catches, as you can see how dirty it is, that catches any, you know, broken down food and fish waste. Then it goes through 20 ppi foam, and then over to this side, more of this bed matting, which you can see how dirty it is. This has been in here for probably a good week and a half at least, if not 2 weeks. And then another, I think this is a 30 ppi foam, piece of foam, sponge, whatever you want to call it, down ceramic noodles, etc. The way the flow goes on all of my sumps, I make them all the same. First compartment, it goes down. The water always travels down, going through these baffles, these sections. The spacing, another question I get asked here all the time, what is the spacing between each compartment? So this baffle, it's a 1-inch gap right here. The water comes up, down, up again, and into this massive K1 media area that I have. All right, so this has a size, I believe it's a Model 5, a size 5. It's either a 4 or 5 pump. It is extremely quiet. I'm sure my iPhone here that I'm taking this video will pick up any sound, so it may sound loud. It's really not in person, but as you can see, it's really moving around this media really well. And this K1, in my opinion, is absolutely phenomenal because I never have to clean it. This has been running for about, I'd say, a year and a half at least, this system with this K1. You can see probably some of the K1 is bright white. That is actually new K1 media that I just recently added a few weeks ago. So it is a different color until it gets that beneficial bacteria on it and turns brown or tan like the rest of it. Now, the last section here is, let me back up actually. On the return line, there's a UV sterilizer up here, which keeps, number one, keeps the water crystal clear, but number two, it's gonna, hopefully, the idea is to basically kill off any bad bad bacteria or any at a loss for words here, parasites, anything like that. So that's gonna hopefully help. This runs over to my aquaponics system, which is up behind here. It runs into this large aquaponics system. This is a 3-foot planter box. And as you can see, the pothos that are in here are growing out of control. Really doing well. I've got pothos and then of course the lucky bamboo in here as well, mixed in here. But this is really taking off. I'm actually going to have it start climbing up the wall. I'm going to build something where it kind of climbs up the wall and then behind the tank. So that should be pretty cool. An aquaponics system I highly recommend for any tank. I will tell you guys, it is not the complete answer to lowering your nitrates to nothing. It definitely helps for sure. Without a doubt, it definitely helps. But it's not going to lower your nitrates tremendously. It will knock it off quite a bit, but definitely not the complete answer. Now, here is the most important part, aspect, upgrade, whatever you want to call it, on this tank. The parameters on this tank are probably the best, most perfect parameters I've ever had on any fish tank. My nitrate level is undetectable. So I've been using API kits, which I've used forever, which are fine. I know it's controversial. Some people do not like API, but it is what it is, guys. I mean, this is simple water testing, freshwater testing. API kits are perfectly fine. So I use a couple API kits just to make sure that they're all in check and doing their job. The API kits show my nitrates always undetectable. So what I ended up doing was swiping one of the test kits. It's a Saltwater test kit for nitrates that I use on my saltwater tank. And the Saltwater is way more in depth, way more intense. It reads a lot lower because of the saltwater, of course. The parameters are read lower. So I use that kit and it is almost undetectable, very low with that even. So the way that I am achieving these water parameters is this constant drip system. You can call it a constant drip system, you can call it an auto water change system, whatever you guys want, but this constant drip system is exactly what it sounds like. It's a constant, steady drip that I have it set on this tank, just over 1 gallon per hour. It changes out. I have this in the return section. So as the water passes through the K1 section, it comes in here. It goes down this pipe right here. This is all do-it-yourself, of course. I drilled a hole through here. And then this is going right through my floor into my basement, into the waistline. And what is happening is the water comes from the basement and it comes up through this purification system that I built. I bought all these parts on eBay and I pieced it together myself. This is a sediment filter, and then these are 2 fine and finer carbon blocks. And I change these guys out once every 2 months. I'm really supposed to do it once every 3 months, but I just do it early. And then off to the drip system itself. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it's a steady stream here. And going right into the, it's going right into the intake on the pump. And what that is doing, guys, is giving me a constant water change. I used to do about 170 gallon water changes a week on this tank. Now, let's see, it's been about 11 months since I've done a water change on this tank, and the water checks perfect. I'm super happy with it, super excited about it. The water's always crystal clear. The guys are growing like crazy. Most of them are already fully grown, but everyone is absolutely happy, healthy. They think they're gonna get fed. I already fed them. I feed these guys. That's another thing, guys. I feed these guys once a day, and these guys are quite large. So these guys are usually getting, depending on which food it is, depending on what size of pellets, these guys are getting anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons of food. And you guys can see how crystal clear. I fed these guys probably about 4 hours ago now. You can see how crystal clear the water is. So this is tank number 1. And I don't want this video to be crazy long, but it is what it is, because we're gonna dive deep into these sumps, and I'm gonna show you why it is I love these sumps. Okay, so as you guys saw, the 75 gallon sump, you can just see the amount of media that you can store in here is just incredible. Now this section I have for the K1, it's 18 inches front to back, of course, the width, depth of the tank. And then it's probably about, I'd say 16 inches or so, 17 inches tall. And then this particular section, it's a good 2 feet long. So there is a ton of media in there. But of course, you can pack it with whatever you want. It doesn't have to be K1. It could be fully packed of ceramic rings or whatever your choice is. All right. The other reason I love the sumps is because the ease of access is just, there's no, for example, when I used to use my FX6s, my Fluval FX6 canisters, you know, or any canister for that matter, it doesn't matter which brand it is. You know, I would have to take it out, you know, take the hoses off, I'd have to open it up, you know, do that whole song and dance, which is fine. Nothing wrong with it. I love those filters. Great filtration systems. But right now, you know, everything is open. All I have to do is just pop these socks out. I put new filter socks in, and I'm good to go. Same thing with this bedding. That's pretty much all I do to this system. There's really nothing to do maintenance-wise to this tank, aside from change out those filter socks once every week and a half I do it. And then change out that bed matting probably about once every 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. The other great thing about it is the oxygenation. As the water travels through the pipes, it is also mixing in air as it drains into the sump. So the air creating turbulence in the lines into the sump, creating a lot of oxygen. Not only that, but there is a ton of surface area going on in there with the surface agitation everywhere. So the oxygen level in this tank is very high. It's a great, in my opinion, a great setup. And to me, it's the ultimate filtration setup you can have. So that is the 300 gallon tank, guys. I want to take you guys to show you, I'll make the other ones a lot quicker, but I do want to show you the differences with the other tanks. Let's go check that out. So this is the coolest sump I have. I think it is, at least. This is on my 210 gallon saltwater tank. Unfortunately, the lights are off in the tank right now. However, I do want to show you guys this sump. Even though it's a saltwater tank, I do want to show you the sump because a lot of people do use these sumps for freshwater setups. This particular one, more of a fancy type of sump. It's acrylic with, you know, clear acrylic with the clear blue acrylic. You can get it in different colors. It's a very nice system. It's made by Trigger Systems, this one, for example. I believe this one's called the Triton. I'm not positive on that. I can't remember which one it was. But it's made by Trigger Systems. This one is the 44 model, I believe. So it is a larger model. And you know, you can use this on the freshwater as well. The only difference would be this one being a saltwater tank. It does have a protein skimmer in it, of course. So this right here is the protein skimmer. For those of you not familiar, that would not be used, of course, in a freshwater setup. But this is a really nice option if you want a fancier option instead of the DIY. And of course, I've got all the colored piping going on here. I'm actually going to be changing my 300 over to this look. I'm going to be painting the inside of the 300 stand like this one is, where it's a dark gray. Probably going to do either blue or this orange and gray piping to make it basically just to spice it up. But anyways, this one flows into 3 filter socks right here. It's got a water silencer on it, which is really nice. Again, this sump is super quiet. It holds a lot of water. If this were a freshwater system, I would not have the protein skimmer there, but I would have probably a bunch of foam and or ceramic noodles or ceramic rings, whatever you want to call it, along with this section in here. Right now I have live rock in this section. That would be something else. But that is the main portion of the sump, and then you have the return section here. This, of course, I have a 57 watt UV aqua ultraviolet UV sterilizer up here, which is really nice to have. And then I've noticed a lot of people lately using algae scrubbers in freshwater systems. I never actually used one on a freshwater system, but here is the algae scrubber that I have on my salt system here. Now you could definitely use it on freshwater setups. Like I said, I've seen people using them, for example, on freshwater tanks. It's kind of hard. I can't get my phone to focus on it here, but it's basically a curtain of water that is flowing down this plastic area with LED lights, super bright LED lights shining on both sides, and that is basically to get algae to grow on that curtain instead of in your tank. So it's a really cool setup. Anyways, I'm going to cut this video short since this is a saltwater setup, but just wanted to show you guys, you can make it really fancy. I really love the look of this one in person. It's really bright, colorful, and really cool. So I like of course my PVC jungle I've got going there. I really like this setup, but let's move on to the next one. If you guys have any questions, comments, please do post them below. I'm happy to answer whatever I can for you guys and help in any way I can. Let's go check out the other 2 freshwater sumps. All right guys, so we moved down here into the basement fish room, and we are touching upon the 120 African cichlid tank. I'm kind of using this as a grow out tank right now. This does have my 3D background on the back of it. Crystal clear water again. The fish are doing really, really well. And let's touch base on this system. So this tank was actually a standard 120 gallon tank that I drilled. So the overflow box hidden pretty well by this 3D background. It is up here. It's a 12-inch wide box, and it has a bean animal overflow system that I did utilize. It's a very, very high flow rate system. So I have it, pulled back pretty good. It's only running at about, I think, 40% power or so, and I'm moving a ton of water. But let's dive into this setup. This is a 40-gallon breeder tank that, again, DIY sump. I did cut the baffles, and again, for those of you wondering, they are, I think, the same as the other tank. I think it's about 17 and 3/16 of an inch is what I'm cutting these glass baffles out to fit perfectly with the silicone taken into consideration there on these 18-inch deep tanks. Keep in mind, guys, when you do, or if you do build your own sumps, these tanks, say the 40-gallon breeder, for example, and the 75, for example, they are 18 inches wide, front to back, but they are not 18 inches in between the glass, okay? Inside the tank is not actually 18 inches. It's slightly smaller than that, just under 18, maybe 17 3/4. I've never really measured it, or maybe I did, but I don't remember. But anyways, this one, as you can see, also running the K1 because I cannot find a reason not to run it. It's been absolutely flawless. Been running this tank for about a year or so now, and this tank has just been running phenomenally. No issues with fish or anything like that. Water parameters check great. And I've got just a ton of surface area, surface agitation in here for that oxygen exchange along with all of the water coming down these pipes. Now, like I said, this is a very high flow rate sump system, and you can see it just bubbling. The amount of oxygen in there is just phenomenal, guys. I really like these sumps. I actually like the sumps, as stupid as it sounds. I like the sumps as much as I like the tanks. And watching the fish, I kind of get good enjoyment out of watching these sumps. But you can see this one is just absolutely packed with media. This one has matrix, ceramic rings, these ceramic, I forget what they call them, the ceramic glass, I don't know, we'll call them blocks for now, and then a bunch of coarse foam. So I gotta get a light under the sump so you can see it better, but you get the point. There's the PPI and the foam. I love this. I've got a ton of this foam. I bought it on Amazon, actually. I think it's 10 PPI, so it's really coarse. Anyways, there's just a bunch of extra foam and sponge filters just kind of hanging out, getting all that beneficial bacteria and keeping it on it while I build the fish room here. I will say that all of my sumps do have the auto top off system, so I never have to manually put water into these sumps at all. They basically run themselves. This one I've got the float valve on it, as you can see. So pretty self-sufficient. They run themselves pretty well. So that is the 120-gallon tank. One last tank I do want to show you guys is the 90-gallon planted tank, which is also, in my opinion, a really great tank and one of my favorites. So let's check that one out. All right, so last but not least, I turned the lights off down here so I can cut down on the reflection off the glass. But this is a tank and sump that I wanted to touch upon because this is a very popular size. This is a 90-gallon tank, so I would definitely use this sump on even a 40 breeder or a 75 or a 90. This is a 29-gallon tank, standard tank that I turned into a sump. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the light on the camera here so we can actually see what's involved. Alright, so hopefully this is a little bit better lighting. Again, this is a 29-gallon tank that I converted into a sump. And you can see I use a 4-inch diameter filter sock on here. This one is 15 inches long. There is a ton of that 10 PPI foam, as you can see, guys. I get this foam on Amazon. It is really nice because it's a very coarse foam, and it does a great job. It's obviously holding a ton of beneficial bacteria, and I just love this stuff. And it's cheap, so it's it's a win-win. So that's the first section, guys. Then it travels down here. It travels up and into this section, which this section is housing Purigen. You can see these 2 packs of dirty brown Purigen because they're pulling out all the stuff from the driftwood that's in the tank. So these packs are usually dirty. I just keep recharging them. Keeps the water crystal clear. This right here is a felt filter pad. It's for polishing the water, and that really, as you can see how dirty it is, it really helps aid in the crystal clarity of the water. Below that, I have a bunch of pot scrubbers. Good option, guys. I've bought these on Amazon. Amazon seems to have the best prices that I've found so far. Below that, of course, the good old ceramic rings. I still use those. I've been using those forever. And then below that, another one that I really like is the, I can never remember the name of these guys, I'm sorry, but I'm going to call them the ceramic blocks for now. They're about, I don't know, 6-7 inches long or so. There's a ton of them. Very, very porous, of course. Water flows great through them and houses a lot of beneficial bacteria. Again, we come up this baffle here into the return section. In the return section, I have a bunch of lava rock that is in the nylon mesh bags, so I can take it out easily if I need to. And the return pump is over here in the back, if you can see that. This is another one of those float valves for the auto top-off system. On all the tanks, I forgot to mention this earlier, on all of the tanks coming out of the main return pump, I use these pieces of, well, they're check valves, really. I forgot what they call them, but this is a check valve, basically. So if I lose power or, I turn the pump off, this flapper shuts right away and it cuts off any excess water going into the sump so it does not overflow. So pretty standard PVC. This tank has just the standard white PVC piping that I got from Home Depot, not like the fancy orange one that I bought upstairs on my saltwater tank. By the way, guys, that colored PVC piping, as cool as it looks, it is really ridiculously expensive. Just to give you an idea on that saltwater tank, I have spent probably, I'd say, at least a few $100 at least just on all the PVC fittings, the piping, the unions, the ball valves, all that stuff. I have at least a few $100 just in piping, that orange fancy piping on that saltwater tank. So if you do want to go down that fancy road, just keep that in mind, that it's going to definitely cost you. But you know, the white stuff works just as good, just doesn't look as cool. All right, guys, so that is it for today. I hope this video helped you guys. I hope you watched it to the end. If you made it this far, I really thank you guys for joining me today and watching in its entirety. Any questions, please do not hesitate to message me, guys, or comment below. I'm always happy to help. Of course, there's just an abundance of information on this stuff online as well. So I found many videos out there that helped me, so I hope this video helped you guys. And again, happy fish keeping. Hope this helped. See you guys in the next one.